Cheers, Guzzlers. A new stoat I discovered. It's actually stout, but they call it Badger Stoat. Coffee, caramel, excellent. Anyway, despite having my luxurious lard t-shirt, I'm going to be wearing a pinny. And I'm going to be wearing, even though it's not a baking thing, I'm going to wear my Star Baker Stand Up to Cancer apron. Currently on TV we've got the celebrity Stand Up to Cancer. It's bakery, you know, baking, you know, stand up. Baking channel, baking. Oh my God! Well, I'm not adding up of this stuff. Great British Bake Off, Celebrity Stand Up to Cancer Bake Off. Okay, so I've got myself an apron, and part of the reason was, or rather, I bought it to help support Stand Up to Cancer and cancer research. Go and do it. Okay. And then I thought, I'm going to make a dish that has a connection to cancer, if you like. So I'm making a hairy biker's dish. It is there from their latest book, their last book, which Si produced after David died. We'll come to that again. Well, I've told you about this before, we'll come to that again. But he made a book about their 100 favourite recipes, and this is one of theirs. So it's the Hairy Bikers Chicken Kyiv, don't say Kyiv, Chicken Kyiv Pasta Bake. Cheers. There's two stages to this Chicken Kyiv Pasta Bake, and the first is where we're going to partly roast some chicken thighs. Now, you're going to want about 500 grams of chicken thighs, boneless. Whether they're skinless or not is up to you. Right? These are skinless, so they're healthier. I think this is a 600 gram pack. The recipe calls for 500. We're going to put all them in. And you're going to need a tray to bake it in. Now I'm going to do it in that. Might be pushing it a little bit on the size, but I like to live dangerously, so I don't give a shit. All right. Excuse me. Now, to start with, we're going to roast them with some onion, some lemon zest and lemon juice, plenty of fresh ground, I was going to say grated, fresh ground black pepper, some salt, and a teaspoon of dried mixed Italian herbs, or Provence, herbs from Provence or whatever. Okay, these are just a mixture of dried herbs, probably from any of them regions. Okay, so first thing I want to do is prepare me onion. Let's have a bigger knife. Let's have that one. Yeah, let's do it with that one. So all I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to take the tops off. Ooh, stamper. Cut it in half. Leave the root on. I discovered that a little while back. It's really good. Makes your life a lot easier. And we're going to cut it into slim wedges. Now, I mentioned at the beginning about obviously this is sort of partly inspired by Stand Up to Cancer, because unfortunately one of the hairy bikers died back in February of 2024. I'm going to take that out of there off. It's a bit of a funny colour. It's not really just me. And he'd been battling cancer. So the hairy bikers were a duo who appeared on TV really since 2004. right up, obviously, until poor old Dave's death in 2024. Now, they were known as the hairy bikers because they both were a bit on the hairy side. Facially, that is. I don't know what the rest of it was like. And bikers, because part of the thing was they drove around on bikes. They actually hosted over 30 TV shows, 30 TV series, and numerous tie-in cookbooks. Not Thai cookbooks, tie-in cookbooks. Right, so I'm just going to get rid of all them peelings. By the way, you'll also want some Parmesan, coarsely grated, about 100 grams. Some dried pasta, 300 grams. I bought these 10, or rather the wife did. We're going to be making them up later. We want some garlic. We want about 50 grams of panko breadcrumbs. You're going to want about 30 odd grams of butter split into 20 and 10. More salt and pepper. Parsley and basil. Cheers. So there's my baking tray, as it were. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of oil in there. And then I've already sort of sliced my onion sort of into slim wedges. Just going to cut the root off. And then we're just going to break that onion up into there. It's quite a lot of onion. Their recipe is for the quantity of meat, and remember we use a little bit more meat, 2 large onions. Okay, so we're just going to break them up in there, and we're also going to get them chicken thighs out. While I'm sort of doing that, because I've got my hands messy now, so I was telling you about hairy bikers. They were both all right. Before they met, they were both nothing to do with cooking. They were both working in TV and film production. Oh, pardon me. Dave Myers, he was a makeup artist, but he specialised in prosthetics, whereas Si was more of a locations manager. And in fact, he was heavily involved in a lot of the Harry Potter films, amongst other things. But what it was in 1995, so quite a long time ago. Bear in mind their cooking show started about 2004, I think I said. They first met on the set of it was a TV thing where they were doing Catherine Cook's novels. And this was The Gambling Man. Actually, now I think about it, it was Robson and Green, if you remember them two. It was one of them, I think. But anyway, that digresses. They met on that, and they sort of realised, right, so now I've just put in them chicken thighs in there. Now I said to you I might be touch and go with the size of that because I've got to get the pasta in there, but I'm assuming them chicken and the onion will reduce down a bit. So anyway, I said because of their love of motorbikes, travel, and the fact that they did travel anyway, a part of their work, and food, that's how they started out. Right, I'm just going to wash up, get rid of the rubbish, and then we'll finish off seasoning, if you like that, and putting that in the oven. Now I'm just going to drizzle over about 1 or 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, just going to drizzle that over the top, and that should be all the oil you're going to need. We're only going to add some butter. We want a generous amount of freshly ground black pepper. If you've never seen the Hairy Bikers show, they sort of adopted, in a way, a style that was first perhaps started by Keith Floyd, the chef, where bits of banter with the crew. He frequently be, rather than like talking to the camera, he like talking to like I'm talking to you. Yes, you, personally, you. Fuck everybody else, it's you I'm talking to. But he would do it as well, where they're sort of saying, Well, not only am I talking to you, but I'm talking to you, Mr. Soundman, Mr. Cameraman, Mr. Whatever. Now I'm just going to add a couple of pinches of salt. Okay. We want a teaspoon, a generous teaspoon, of these dried herbs. Oh, I'll put a bit more in. Got it here. And then we want some zest of lemon. So I want the zest of 1 lemon, the juice of half. Yeah, so it was something that sort of perhaps started out with Keith Floyd, but also not the hairy barkers, it's hairy barkers I'm talking about, isn't it? The two fat ladies, if you've heard of those. One of them sadly died. I think the other one's still alive. But they did a similar thing where you would have a bit of banter between the two of them, and perhaps a little bit with the crew. But obviously, the hairy bikers also was all the stuff to do with their bikes. You could say that, like Keith Floyd and the two fat ladies, they used to travel different places, and really that was sort of where the hairy bikers came from. And then, like I said, didn't do that very well, did I? I was sitting there busy talking and not thinking about moving around and moving that zest over, but never mind. I can sprinkle that bit over, can't I? But then, like I said, after all these sort of shows, unfortunately, in 2022, Dave Myers had to sort of reveal. I'm just going to get rid of them pips out there so I don't have to try and find them in there in a bit. Although I think there's some more little buggers in there. Yeah, there's one down there. Look at that, 2 down there. Bet there's some more. He revealed that he'd got cancer and he was undergoing treatment. Yeah, there you go, you little shite. Oh, that's 3, not just 2. And I lost a bit of herb there. He revealed he was fighting cancer. While he was receiving treatment, he did make 2 more series of the hairy bikers in 2023, but sadly in 2024, during the airing, i.e. you know, it was out on telly, it had already been done, but when all the shows in that final series, Hairy Bikers Go West, he sadly passed away. Right, so that now is done. Oh, by the way, talk about stand up cancer. I told you, go and buy yourself an apron, support cancer, don't be a tight ass. Buy the pack, includes, well, look that upside down, who gives a shit anyway. I bought the pack, 3 tea towels, what is what I'm wrapping it, 3 tea towels and some oven gloves. I've got so many bloody oven gloves, I don't know, it's just someone's going to get a present. In fact, I might even give one of the tea towels away. But anyway, that is now done. Put salt on, put pepper on, put the... Right, that is now going in that preheated oven at 200, did I say 200 preheated for 30 minutes. But during that time, you want to periodically give it a little bit mixed round because we don't want the onions catching. But we do have some more stuff to prep while it's in the oven. So don't think you can go and sit down and have a rest. All right? There's more to come. We want to pre-bake. We want to pre-cook some of those pasta shells. Like I said, we've got 300 grams of those. Don't have to be pen pasta, just pasta shapes, right? So I've got at the back there, just out of shot, a pan of water. I'm just going to bring it up to the boil, and then we will salt it. You do not salt it first. That's what the pasta queen says. Don't put the salt. She don't talk anything like that because she's gorgeous. Put this in for the wife. She says get it to a boil, then add your salt, and then add your pasta. So we're going to cook the pasta till it's al dente, and then we're going to drain it. But you want to keep some of the pasta water next to the gods. Tears of the gods, next to the gods. Can't remember. I think she said tears of the gods. That's the pasta queen again. Don't fancy her really. And that was the only bottle of stout I had. Don't know if I mentioned what stout it was, but the only bottle I had. So we're back on finishing off the Jelly Red Roux that I had yesterday. Sorry, that someone had half of yesterday. So, as well as cooking the pasta, put it on the back burner because that's a bigger burner. It's quicker and you can't. If I put it in, you can't see what I'm doing. You want 100 grams approximately, coarsely grated Parmesan on. You're going to want a few basil leaves. There's a bit of garlic on it. You know, garlic, what's the name? You want about 100 grams of parsley. Turns out I've only got 30. And you're going to want about half a bulb of garlic. So your basil, your parsley and your garlic also need to be roughly chopped up. And then we're going to be putting it in a blender. Okay? We're going to want to make a paste. Okay? Where's my one? Oh, Christ there. I mean, I'm not using it. I had this glass for something else, and I thought, rather than get this glass dirty and then get one glass dirty, I use the same glass. For a minute there, I had a panic. I couldn't find one glass. So, I told you about Airy Bikers and about Dave sadly passed away through cancer. But the real story, well, not the real story, because the real story is about Airy Bikers and Dave and that. But the other part of the story, if you like, then, is about chicken Kyiv. I don't like them bits, so I'm going to leave them bits. You do not call it chicken Kiev. Yes, I know we might have called it chicken Kiev in the past, but now, and I don't give a shit about what your bloody politics are, but after the illegal invasion of Ukraine by Russia, yes, it's illegal, and yes, it's wrong, and everything else. And if you don't like that, piss off. But anyway, after that, of course, the capital of Ukraine, which used to be known as Kiev, yeah, it's a bit weird. What's happened to that stalk that didn't go in there? They decided to, you know, obviously remove some of the association with Russia, because they were associated with Russia in the past. No denying that. They reverted to the Ukrainian pronunciation of their home city, Kyiv, or something very similar to it, but it's not Kiev. All right. So it does so happen that this dish is Russian in origin. Although Ukraine may well argue it's Ukrainian, it does appear that it was based on a Russian similar dish, if you like then. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to peel my garlic, roughly chop it, and we're going to put it in there. I think I've got enough room, because by the time that splits down, there'll be plenty of room. And remember, you want to get that up to a boil, just get in there, and then we're going to salt it and put the pasta in. And don't forget what's in the oven. So like I said to you, every now and again we just want to agitate it a little bit. It's a bit wire oiled. They said just drizzle it on the top, and I thought if I don't put some oil in the bottom, it's going to stick. So it's partly why I put some oil in the bottom. But we want to make sure the onions don't hatch and start burning. Right, I've already chopped some of that parsley. By the way, usually it's flat leaf parsley, but I remember the old days when I used to work in kitchens, and one of my jobs was preparing the chopped parsley. It was always curly parsley. I think they call this curly parsley, like this. And that was always what we ended up chopping up. Now, like I said, there's not a lot of room in there, but to be honest, don't put that in there because that's a bit of the old not shell, skin for the garlic. but we'll put that pasta in there. Yeah, and we used to chop that up, or I did, tons of it. So that's going in my blender, and like I say, we want to reduce that down eventually to a paste, but we're going to add some of that pasta water, so I can't do that just yet, can I? I can do a little bit of a blitz, so why not? What's going on here? Is that not turned on? It is turned on. Oh dear. Helps if you turn the lid properly to lock it first. Seems like a timer. What are you doing? It is now. Right, that's going to need a little bit of help. So, well, to be honest, that's most of it. Well, it is. That's all your chopping done. Now, they talk about 100 grams of parmesan to go in it all. I've got a little bit of parmesan left, so I'm going to actually sprinkle some of that on top. But you've got the panko breadcrumbs and my 2 lots of butter, and that's it. And I have just checked on the chicken, all going well. Where's my white? Oh, I was trying to drink and put that blender. So, chicken Kyiv, also known as chicken Kiev, and chicken a la Kyiv, essentially is a chicken fillet that's been pounded and rolled around cold butter, then dipped in egg and coated with breadcrumbs, and then baked or fried. And then the classic thing was, let me just turn that down a little bit, it's probably not far off that, you cut into it and the butter everywhere. And they used to warn you in some of the restaurants, the higher end ones, mind your clothing, they may well get splashed. Now, when you refer to fillets of meat, they sometimes were known as supremes. That's why some of the early names for the dish was like a supreme de volaille a la Kyiv. And in Russia and Ukraine, a stuffed chicken breast was known as a côtelette de volaille. And like I say, there's a little bit of dispute as to where it originated in Russia or Ukraine. Possibly it was during the time that Ukraine was part of Russia, I don't know. But anyway, it is now very popular, not only in those areas, but also in a lot of the other Western countries, particularly the UK. Right, so can't do a lot more until I'm ready for that. Right, now I've actually managed to reduce that down to something of a paste. I've got a bit more room in there. We're now just going to add a little bit more pepper into there, and we're also going to add a generous pinch of salt, and then that 100 grams of parmesan is also going in there. Okay. Ooh, oh well, actually it's going in there and everywhere else. And then we're just going to give that a little blitz. But remember, what we're actually waiting on is that. Oh, you don't put me new tea towel on the floor, you little bug. It's got a little hook on it, you know, like a thing to hang on a hook. Unfortunately, my door with a tea towel so big, it's on the floor, and that's not very hygienic, is it? Certainly not hygienic dropping it on the floor. So I'm just going to give that another quick blitz, as it is. Okay, and then we're shortly going to strain that off, or at least remove 200 mils of that pasta water. Right, I've removed 200 mils of that pasta water, just put that there for a minute. And I'm now just going to try that pasta. I think it's all right. It's al dente, It's still a little bit chewy. That's fine, because remember, we're going to be carrying on cooking it. So I'm just going to turn that up to the heat. And then we're going to strain that in a minute. And before we do that, I'm just going to add a little bit of that pasta water so that we can then make that. Excuse me, I need a drink. Give me warm in here. I'm just going to give that another little blitz together. Does need a little bit of encouragement every now and again. Just to knock it down. We are going to be mixing all of that water in there with it eventually. But for now, I just want to make it into like a thick coarse paste. So, we're still about 5 minutes off of getting that chicken out of the oven. So really, we've done everything we can do so far. Apart from obviously straining out, which I'm going to do now. I'm now just going to, we won't keep the oven on because remember it's still got to cook more. But I'm now just going to remove, can't see what the bloody I'm doing now. Just going to remove that chicken. And pardon me. Now I did add a little bit more of that pasta water to what's in there, but I'm just going to use a little bit just to rinse that out. And likewise, I'm going to. So it's a nice bright green. Do you know what? Whenever I see any recipes that use Parmesan, they always seem to use or end up with this really bright green pistachio paste. None of the pistachios I've bought in this country, no matter where I bought them from, end up that colour. Don't touch the bloody dish. I'm almost thought about picking that dish up then. I'm just going to use a little bit more water because I seem to still have. Oh, yeah, that's not. Still have a bit more water, green stuff in there. He says getting all over his hands. I'm just going to give that another little blitz. Now, this is where we now take our pasta. And we're also going to add our pasta. Hey, to that. Go on there to the top, won't you? Oh, almost picked that up by hand then without thinking. What's that done? Don't touch the fucking tray. I'm also, what I should have done perhaps before that, was taken 20 grams of that butter and put that in there. Let's get rid of that. Let's give that another quick blitz. Oh, thank you, you shit. Make a bleeding mess everywhere. I bet that's buggered that up. But anyway, clean that up in a minute. Let's pour that over the top. And now we want to add those panko breadcrumbs. Okay, sprinkle them over the top. And then we just want to dot that remaining 10 grams of butter. Although this has got quite soft in this heat in here. Makes a change. Here we are. In April, finally got some nice warm weather. It's been really deceptive lately. You look out the window and you think, Christ, that looks hot out there, nice and sunny. Step outside, freeze balls off. But today, it's been a bit different. Today, it looks bloody hot, and it is bloody hot. Apparently, it's going to change tomorrow. Anyway, that's that done. And then, like I said to you, I've still got some Parmesan left. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of grating over top of that. Now, I've actually put this on a baking tray because I was a bit dubious about this dish. I didn't want it breaking and making a right bloody mess of it. And there we go. That's on there, that in there. And now that's going back in the oven for at least another 20 minutes. Essentially until that chicken's cooked. And then I've got to clean up my blender, because that's made a bleeding mess. And then, well, perhaps while I'm cleaning up, I'll just finish off telling you a little bit about chicken Kyiv. And then, of course, we'll be ready to serve the bugger up. So, before I knew it, I'd cleared up most of my crap. And didn't do like I said. I'll tell you a bit more about chicken Kyiv while I was clearing up crap. So like I say, it sort of originated as something that wasn't quite necessarily stuffed with butter to something that was stuffed with butter. And the chicken Kyiv that we know today is often attributed to the Continental Hotel in Kyiv, at the beginning of the 20th century. And then apparently, after becoming the signature dish, it was then adopted by the French haute cuisine. And so we perhaps sometimes think of it more as something to do with French, but it's not. It's Russian, straight Ukraine. 1937, it started appearing in the US. There was a particular restaurant that was run by a Russian who was, I don't know if he was I think he was an ex-military, something or other in the Russian army or whatever, but he founded that for a while in Chicago up until 1951. One of his signature dishes was chicken Kyiv. It migrated to New York, and now it is one of the most popular dishes in the UK. Marks and Spencer's, which most people have heard of, chicken Kyiv, because that's what they called it then, was their first ready meal. And it's been so popular since. Now, when they calculate, hang on, I need to swig one. I've finished the bottle. And when they calculate sort of the inflation rate, if you like, they talk about this is your back. Look at all that. I spilled some pasta on there. If you give it white, they don't want that very well. They talk about saying certain household items in your shopping basket, and then saying as inflation resulted in it getting more expensive or less expensive. Chicken Kyiv has been so popular, it is now part of that basket. So, there you go. I used to at one time leave the humerus bone in it, and used to have this little fancy little paper. I remember seeing it, little paper frill, if you like, over the end of the bone. You rarely see it like that now. Anyway, we're now just waiting on that to finish cooking. Still about 15 minutes to go, and then we can eat the bugger. Right, timer is up. Let's check out this bugger. I'm putting my Challenger oven gloves on because that thing's going to be hot, and I'm going to forget myself, and I'm going to touch the pasta. Oh, hey Stevie, can't see a bloody thing yet. The pasta on top's going to be, unfortunately, a little bit drier. Maybe I think it's but having said that, I can see it bubbling up through, but who cares? Okay, so now Airy Bikers suggest you accompany this with a nice green salad or some veg, which is going to be like it is. Obviously, right, oh, you say so. No, that dish is not done, I think. Ooh. So the sauce hasn't thickened up so much, but that's partly because there's nothing in it. Oh, fuck out that bloody place, but what I do. So at the moment I've just got the pasta. I've got that lemony, zesty flavour. Bit of onion with that one. Now, one of the reasons cook the chicken with the butter to keep it moist. This is certainly looking moist. Definitely nice and moist. Getting the garlic. I might have to put this on a bloody tray or on a table. We're heathens, we'll be eating off our laps. Right, this tray. You're getting the lemon, you're getting the garlic, you're getting parmesan. Well, chicken's nice and moist, not dried out, not overcooked. You got the flavours of a chicken Kyiv. So there you go. In a way, a bit of an inside out chicken Kyiv with pasta. But thanks a lot, Dave and Si. I know unfortunately you, Dave, weren't there and they produced a book, but it was one of your favourite, or the pair of his favourites. And also it's that bit here you want to see. Stand Up to Cancer. As I tell you, 1 in 2 of us are affected by cancer, and both the wife and I, we know that. So if nothing else, go and buy their aprons from the Cancer Research. Well, you just put in Stand Up to Cancer and you'll find places where you can buy these, buy the tea towels, buy gloves, buy whatever. But whatever you do, just remember, poor old Dave King, Dave Myers, Dave Myers, and anybody else that you might know affected by cancer. But that aside, absolutely ace dish, go and enjoy it.